Great time of year, obviously, conference tournaments, and been a difficult 2 weeks. Some disappointing in terms of results wise. Been a challenge for us the last couple weeks, particularly the last two games, and going to be a great test for us to go play a very good Tulsa team that I think is playing very good basketball right now, coming off of obviously an impressive win versus South Florida.
Coach, what has to go right in the opener for you guys to get a win?
Well, you have to have that refresh mindset. We're battling 2 weeks of obviously been some challenging road trip, that Texas swing, then a very difficult loss in overtime at SMU, and then coming home. And, we've played solid basketball over the last two games, and at times some of the best basketball we've played late in the season. It's just about a reset mindset, and sometimes that's easier said than done, but I think our guys have been great in practice the last 2 days, coming off of obviously a really frustrating loss in terms of versus Charlotte on Saturday. And we got to go out there and we got to get back to doing what we were doing well when we were playing good basketball.
With Tulsa, Haggerty and Williams, obviously explosive. Just how much do they concern you going into
Yeah, huge, a great amount, because I think it's as productive and as talented a backcourt as there is in this conference in terms of just everything. The way they play, get the free throw line, shoot the basketball, score the basketball. So yeah, it's a huge concern, particularly because you look at the Charlotte game and their backcourt really hurt us. They had 47 points between their starting backcourt in the game on Saturday. So yeah, it's a great challenge for us against what is one of the best backcourts, if not the best backcourt in the conference.
Obviously, it's been 4 months since that MTE, but it seemed like when that happened here in Greenville, you played better as each day went on. Do you take anything that your team did maybe off the court, playing 3 days in a row, then to bring that into the conference tournament?
I think tournament basketball is always exciting. I think, if you probably ask the guys, they probably would love to play games every day as opposed to being in practice every day and then, more. But that all being said, I think you got to approach it one game at a time. I'm not even thinking about anything beyond us getting on a plane today, traveling there. We got to, still don't play until Thursday. So in terms of our preparation, as we continue to prepare again for what I think is a really good Tulsa team.
With Haggerty, he's so elite at getting to the free throw line. Did a great job of that in the first meeting. Can you emphasize, or is it just something that kind of happens as far as
you can definitely emphasize it. You have to. He's number 2 in the country getting to the free throw line in terms of that free throw rate and his numbers. And the other guy happens to be 7'3" or 7'4", whatever Zach Edey is. So this is an elite guard that gets to the free throw line as good as any player in the entire country. So you have to emphasize it. We'd be silly if we didn't. Now, does that equate to the same execution and the fortune that we had in the first game? We'll see. But of course we talk, because that's a huge piece of how he scores and how Tulsa does what they do on offense.
Sears really come on lately. Was there a specific moment that you said, hey man, he's finally ready to go be a big time guy in college basketball, or is it something that kind of progressed over time?
I think it's a progressed thing. I think we've seen it in Sear all year. It's not that the moment was going to happen when he made the moment happen, and I think we all know it was the SMU game. He made that happen. We've all been pushing him towards that, and he's been working towards that. It just doesn't happen as quick as I know everybody wants things to happen. He's a freshman, and PJ Haggerty is a dynamic freshman. He's someone that was at TCU last year. He sat out. So he's a freshman playing eligibility-wise, but he had a year in college. It's very rare for true freshmen, where a year ago today they were in high school games, to just step right in and in November and December hit the ground running and have that kind of impact. I think he's made a lot of real impactful moments every day in practice, in games. But I think in the SMU game, I think it finally clicked in his own head what potentially he's capable to do when he's consistent. And it'll still be a struggle. He's still young, obviously. The Charlotte game wasn't as good as the SMU game for him, obviously. But I think he has really earned this opportunity with the way he's worked.
And how important is it to get production from your first starter to the last guy off the bench you use in this tournament style?
Huge. I think it's always important. We've not been a team that has had incredible production depth all year in terms of in the stat sheet. So I think it's even tenfold now when you go into a tournament, if you're fortunate enough to play beyond the first day. But it doesn't matter on the first day. If we think back to last year, I think Dave Kasanga and I are walk-on. had his career high in the South Florida game when we won that first round game. And I don't think anybody would have walked into that game and predicted that. So no different than Tulsa, no different than the other teams in this league. You go all hands on deck, a reset mindset. Everybody's got a fresh start. Guys that maybe didn't play, will play. This is tournament basketball. That's what makes it so fun this time of year.
And Coach, being in Texas tournament, there might not be the best crowd, so how do you create your own juice to get that game flowing?
The guys just got to be excited to play. Yeah, I mean, what the crowds are is what the crowds are going to be. And, you know, you just got to be excited to have a chance to compete because right now we talked about every game is a game 7 in terms of the NBA Finals. And the guys resonate with that because they watch in the NBA playoffs and stuff. Every game's a game 7. You know, if you win, you have a chance to play. Keep playing. If you don't, you know, your season is going to come to an end.
Are you getting tired of Texas yet?
No, I'm not getting tired. There's a lot of trip. I haven't, you know, it was definitely a unique thing for us to be sent there this many times in the month of February. You know, I don't believe there was another team that had to do the East-West trip this many times in the final month of the season. But it's what it is, and we get a chance to play, and I think our guys are excited about that.
And do you feel like the guys, at least that experienced the tournament last year, can take at least some level of confidence because y'all played well, and you know maybe being in that environment again maybe helps?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, you hope so. You think so. It's something you want to believe as a coach, as you think of familiarity and being in that building and playing and playing well. We played 3 of our best halves of basketball last year in that building, and down to the second half of the Houston game. It's a 21-20 game at halftime. It's an absolute slugfest. We're down by 1 at the half to the number 1 team in the country, and we go into the second half and they get going, and a player that's doing really well in the NBA right now really hurt us in the second half, and you know we couldn't obviously find a way to win that ball game, but our guys competed for 4 halves. We played 3 really good halves, so you hope there's that feeling. But you know what, Stephen, I think it's a whole new season. This is our game versus Tulsa the first time around back in January is irrelevant right now, let alone what we did last year in that building. But being in that building and experiencing it, I think it's always good for players.